Welcome back to this episode of Blueprint to Your Health. I'm your host, Anna K. Simpson. In this episode, we're at Express Fitness Jamaica, where we'll have the conversation about the impact that exercise can have on your mood. It is said that exercise can be just as effective as antidepressants in terms of treating mild to moderate depression. But before we get into all that discussion, first, as always, here's our trivia question. Which of the following is not a category related to the intensity of exercise? Is it A, low impact, B, intermediate, C, high impact, or D, CrossFit? The answer will be revealed at the end of this program. Welcome back. We're here with personal trainer, Cheyenne Daniels. Hi, Cheyenne. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk about some ways where exercise can impact our mood.
Sure.
But first, we need to start by saying, why is exercise so important for us as individuals?
Wow. Exercise is quite broad. I mean, there's a lot for us, right? Exercise in general, everybody knows that it's good to maintain a fit or healthy lifestyle, so to speak, right? But let's take it out of that higher range where everybody might not understand.
Right.
In simplest form, what's important to know is that exercise does a lot for you. Apart from just physical health,
Yes.
what it also does, it helps to strengthen our immune system. It does a lot of other things, right? So what we want to bear in mind is that exercise, it helps to get our peace of mind and so on. It helps us to, regulate our systems better. It helps us to stay healthy, fight off diseases.
But what impact does it have on our well-being?
All right, so on our well-being, it actually impacts our energy levels.
Yes.
Energy levels on so many different ways. You have to remember that the body goes through a lot of different processes through exercise, and this impacts our energy levels.
Right.
Energy levels such as how effective or efficient we are in carrying out a task without experiencing undue fatigue, without being limited by not feeling the ability to push on or do more. So it helps to make us better, more rounded than that physically. It also adds to our aesthetic value. That refers to how we look. So you know that some people go to the gym to look big, or some people just go to lose weight.
Yeah.
Whichever one is comfortable to you, it's essential to know where you're starting from, basically. So,
There is a term called toning, right?
Yes.
It's not exactly, as I said, muscles or anything, but it's not just to lose weight.
right.
Is it a in between?
All right, so when you try to tone, when you angle your training from a toning perspective,
Right.
you can achieve both. You can actually get big and show tone. Toning speaks to aesthetics once again, and that refers to how you look. So you might have people that go to the gym, they go to the gym every day for a year, and you realize, hey, they're not really getting any bigger.
Yeah.
Why aren't they getting bigger? Because that's not their aim.
Right.
That's not their goal. The goal is not to get big. The idea behind toning is to actually get more definition in the muscle, get a bit more sculpt in the body, to highlight certain major muscle groups which are said to be more attractive, so to speak, hence the term aesthetics.
Okay, let's leave physical for a second. For persons who are battling, say, depression, what ways can exercise help them in the aid to fight it?
Oh, that's excellent, man. For depression, that's wonderful. Think about it this way. First, let's start by thinking about what is depression. Depression in its simplest form that everybody can understand, stress. Stress. Stress can be done in different fields. You have psychological stress, you have physical stress, you have emotional stress. All of that encompasses depression, right? However, when it comes to these things like depression, exercise stimulates the body a lot, not just from the physical aspect where the body, it also stimulates the mind. And speaking about the brain, prolonged exercise of consistent intensity, what that does is increase certain production of certain hormones and so metabolic processes. It increases the rates of them, make them more efficient in the body. For example, serotonin, it's a very good hormone to the brain that basically helps with the moderation, maintenance of how the body interprets mood, sleep, appetite. It helps to affect these things. If you're lacking in any one of these areas, worse all three, then automatically from a physical perspective, you will be depressed.
So there's a huge barrier to come to the gym, and that's the body image. Many persons, it deters them from coming to the gym because of the lack of confidence. What are some ways where persons can have the confidence to come to the gym?
Right. So first and foremost, what you want to do is identify your purpose for coming to the gym. You don't want to come to the gym and then be distracted by everyone else who quote unquote looks better than you or is said to be fit, right? Your fitness level, chances are, would be less than theirs, especially if you don't have much physical activity with experience, right? So with that said, stay steadfast on your goals. Know your purpose for coming to the gym. When you're actually at the gym, understand that it's a process. It's not a quick fix. It's not come today and work tomorrow or look like the next guy beside you by tomorrow. Understand the stages. Set short-term goals. Like a lot of people, they come to the gym and they say, oh, I want to lose some weight, weight loss. Fine, that's okay. You've identified a goal. But when them come to the gym, them start work, after 1 or 2 weeks, well, I don't feel like I'm lose no weight.
So
they give up. It's important to stay steadfast to your goals. Vice versa, the person that's slim and they want to go to the gym to look more sexy for the females, wider hips, for the males, more plump upper body, more fit, thicker looking upper body, then they will be training for like a year or two. It's harder to build muscle than to lose fat, in my opinion, right? Different people with different body types can lose fat right along. However, what you want to know is that it takes time to build muscle. So once you stick to your goal, then that helps in not wanting you to feel like out of place, so to speak.
Does outdoor and indoor activity impact each other differently? And if there is, where do you prefer to work out?
Well, that's a huge thing now, right? That's a very, very huge topic. I'll try to keep it as small as possible. Now, indoor and outdoor training. First and foremost, depends on the person. I don't see where one is hugely different. Why? Because indoor training might seem confined. However, depending on the location, indoor training can be bigger than this whole gym for the building. The main difference, advantage I see between outdoor and indoor training, in my opinion, would be more linked to CrossFit. That way, you'll have tires flipping, you'll have bigger rows, you'll have a sled push, you have several things outside that you can have a more interactive set of training. When we speak about indoor training, it's usually in a setting like this, more of a gym setting, more machine-based, equipment-based, right? So with that said, I think that's the only real main difference.
So they don't do anything different then? Like you can't tell by looking at somebody that, yeah man, he's more outdoors.
It depends on which angle you look at it. It's very wide, so I'm trying to stay as small as possible. So to try and give you a more categorized understanding, if you're somebody who doesn't like being in one place, doing repetitive exercises, 6-10 sets, it feels a bit boring, then I would suggest you do outdoor training.
And you can get the same results.
You can get the same results or even better results depending on how well the environment once again suits you. Some people, they're not into the whole jumping up and down. They're definitely not into flipping big heavy tires and using sledgehammers and so on. For those people, indoor training is better for them. You're not exposed to all of that. You don't have any sun. Some people can't take the sunlight and all of that. Some people can't take the heat, so it all depends on the person. For indoor training, people like the AC vibe, they like interacting with those machines, they like the own space. So it really depends on the person. I don't think it makes a big difference or importance whether outside and inside. I think you can gain results, whether it be weight loss or muscle building, both outdoor and indoors. Think about places like Africa. Right now, if you YouTube African bodybuilders, they're doing everything with mud and cement and stuff, and they're working completely outside, and they look bigger than most of the guys that on the protein shake and gym and everything, and they don't have access to this, I'm assuming. They're just straight on natural food because it's Africa, and they have raw waste, they're lifting iron and board and trees, and they still look the part. They still are fit. So I really don't think exercise is confined.
Where do you want to work out?
It's confined between the two.
Where would you prefer to work out?
Me?
Yeah.
I prefer a mixture of both. I think everybody should have a mixture of both. I think it has different things. Exercising in the sun, 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun rays, being in the sun between 5 and 6 in the morning, that gives you vitamin D. So outdoor training, like those people who like to get that early morning walk, that has added value that you can't get into the gym. You're not exposed to that vitamin D. That's one way to get vitamin D. So depending on the person and which dimension you want to look at it from, it has its pros and cons. It all depends on what suits you. But I would personally advise a bit of both. It helps.
Right. We go for a break. When we come back, we talk about how you can get the most out of exercise. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're at Express Fitness Jamaica with our trainer, Cheyenne.
Hi.
Cheyenne, we need to know how we can get the most out of exercise, but let's start by naming the different categories of exercise.
All right, so let's take it from a wide perspective, nice and simple. Regardless if you're an athlete training at the highest level, or whether you're just the average person training at a lower, moderate level, it's important, I would say, to categorize exercise in these simple 3 ways. Low impact, intermediate or medium impact, and high impact. Based on these things, low impact is pretty much self-explanatory. Well, all of them are pretty much self-explanatory. One of them is very easy, low impact.
Like what's an example of a low impact exercise?
Low impact exercise, we'd have to pick an exercise. So say, for example, we'll use this right here, cycling. This can be all 3. Low impact, intermediate impact, and high impact. If, say, for example, if we're cycling like this, no tension whatsoever, we take off all the tension, and we're just going at a nice, cool pace. Nice and easy. I would say this is low impact. As a matter of fact.
So the priorities is like low impact?
Yes, it's lower the intensity. The more resistance we add, now we are raising the intensity. So if we were to add, for example, 6 turns, and this would be dependent on each person. For some people, they reach intermediate impact with just 2. So it's dependent on the person. They are really intertwined, right? So if I put about 3 turns on this, it gets tighter. It's harder to move. It's draining me more. This is a more intermediate level, I would say, form of activity. Now, say, for example, this is normal. For the average person, most average person, if you don't have a disability or an injury or something like that, you tend to fall in the intermediate range, right? If you're not a first-time beginner and you never used to do sports ever before. Now, if you're one of those average persons, you'll be here. So say, for example, you're intermediate and now you want to go high impact. You ever heard they talk about HIIT training? That's HIIT. That's high intensity interval training. Don't worry. What that entails is everything that forces the heart to race. So exercises like that, when you know,
right? Or like lifting or running?
Lifting once again, yes. But if you lift light, that would be low impact. If you lift moderately heavy weights, so to speak, that's intermediate. And if you lift heavy weights, that could be considered high impact. Just like the same cycling. Cycling very slow with no tension, low impact. Cycling with a little tension, medium impact, intermediate. High impact would be what you see HIIT spin classes do. When they hold on and they stand and they add weights and they go really fast, really fast, really fast, and they begin to slow down. Now that is getting into a higher impact activity. So it all depends on the person. A lot of people can't go as fast as me. They might be going this fast, as you were saying before, that's the fastest you were going. That was high impact for you, but that level was not high impact for me. So it depends on the person. It's really interpersonal to know whether or not an exercise may be high or low impact for someone.
But before we get into all of this, we need to know, before we do spinning or lifting weights or running, How important is warming up? And what does it do? What would you do for warm up?
Warm up is very important.
It's very important.
Warm up can go along these 3 scales as well.
Okay.
As I said, it can be interjected right through. But in simplest terms, warm up is any activity you do to prepare the body for that physical activity. Warm up can be done in 2 different levels. You have general warm up, which is what the average person does. Using a treadmill, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, nice pace. That's warm up for other exercise. If you're going to work legs, arms, it's a full body warm up. And you have something called specific warm up. That's what bodybuilders and so on tend to do. So you won't necessarily see a bodybuilder on a treadmill for a warm up. They use it for cardio, not necessarily warm up. However, you will see a bodybuilder going to the gym and say they have chest today. They'll take up the bar alone and punch the bar alone. And that's the warm up. Warm up is usually low impact activities. Low to moderate impact, usually, right? You don't usually use high impact because you don't usually use high impact. We'll go in it later on, sure.
Okay. How does one choose which form of exercise is ideal for them?
Wow. That would be dependent.
Like for instance, all right, I'm coming here because I want to gain weight, right? What type of exercise would you recommend for me in terms of like a routine, for example?
Right, and that's a perfect way you said it. As once again, when it comes to fitness, even though you have general definitions, you always start with identify what level you are. Dependent on the level you are, both physically and health-wise, that can determine the intensity or the type of exercise you actually choose.
Okay, okay. Well, you still not give me a routine, you know? What kind of, give me a routine.
And the first thing that you want to do before you actually start physical activity, exercise or maintaining health starts at home. So the first thing before you even try it, exactly,
is my diet.
Is your diet. Now, once you're eating appropriately, you will be able to build muscle. For you to build muscle, we need to be lifting heavy weights. Lifting heavier weights helps to recruit more muscle fibers, force blood, oxygenated blood to
so it would force me to gain muscle.
Which allows you to expand the muscle and gain size.
Okay.
So if you want to put on muscle in a gym, regardless of your size, if you want to put on muscle, my philosophy is try to eat appropriately, have enough protein and fiber to synthesize protein for repair of the muscle, get enough sleep to induce that anabolic phase that we're referring to, so you can be better prepared tomorrow, so the body can withstand whatever type of training you're giving it.
For a beginner like myself, how important is the frequency?
It's very much important. Why? If you don't have any experience at all from training, you won't have what you may or may not have heard before called muscle memory. Well, if you don't have any muscle memory, it means that whenever you do any physical activity, you will feel some amount of soreness. For the person just starting out, say for example, you don't have a high frequency of training, you train probably once per week. Every single week when you train that one day, you're going to be feeling extremely sore. It's like you're starting over, so because consistency is important. On average, it's advised medically that you exercise probably 2 to 3 times per week. 2 to 3 times per week.
Okay. How is frequency important for the beginner, intermediate, and the expert?
Wow.
Are they different though?
Of course. Coming from exactly where we just left off a while ago about the frequency and how you choose it, right? Now, pertaining to frequency, if you're a beginner, you don't want to be in the gym for an hour and a half, right? You're a beginner. You just actually started. It's on average, it's said pertaining to time frame per session, for the average person to just maintain health, 30 minutes to 1 hour, 30 to 45 minutes to 1 hour, at least 2 times per week. That's what is advised to maintain fitness. But if your training is goal oriented, you want to lose this weight, worse if it is time restricted, you want to build this muscle, then I would advise the more you do the frequency, the more you stimulate the muscles, is the better your results.
And would it be better muscle memory the more you go?
Of course, that's why it's called muscle memory. The more you do a physical activity, it's not just the muscle that's working, it's that connection between the motor neuron and the brain, basically, and the muscle, that sends the impulse to the muscle to say move right here. So the more you do that, if you realize using cable machines, you realize that you're restricted within a certain range based on the limitation of the machine. So if you do that more consistency, for a beginner, you might have to watch the weight to ensure that it doesn't slam and damage the machine. But over time, you'll realize that you no longer have to watch the machine. Your body and brain automatically remembers the full extension and contraction of each muscle. Therefore, the movement becomes natural instead of practice. And that's the whole idea behind muscle memory.
Okay. There is this new phenomenon now where we're using technology, such as pulse monitors.
Oh, that's good.
Is this necessary, or is this just a fad? Or
It is necessary. It might not be necessary for the average person who is healthy, who doesn't have any chronic conditions. You have the main purpose for a pulse monitor. It basically does a cardiovascular check. Your pulse is how many, it's beats per minute basically, how much time your heart beating. You can check that on the hands, check that right, for the pulse. What the monitor does is enable you to check it without having to count for 30 seconds or so on, the textbook way to figure out pulse. So it does it for you mechanically. Now what's important with this is that, say for example, you're not the average person and you actually have a chronic medical condition like high blood pressure or like diabetes, right? What you'd want to do is ensure that you're aware of your pulse level. For people who are diabetic, if the pulse rate is very high, meaning they're going very high intensity for the whole duration, what that can do is leave them feeling a bit dizzy, a bit lightheaded, because remember that diabetes is, depending on the type you have, it has to do with your blood sugar levels, right? Whenever you do high impact activity, you use up all energy, which is depleting the blood sugar stores for energy and so on, right? Now when this happens, for diabetic persons who have to maintain a certain level, if it drops too low, that's hypoglycemia. That's a different medical case that you'll have. And if it goes too high, you might have a tendency to feel like you're blacking out, like you're shutting
so
down.
you recommend pulse monitors?
I would recommend it, especially for people
who
with
have
chronic
illness,
conditions. But for the average person, you don't necessarily have to get it. But definitely if you're recovering, you have heart conditions, you have asthma, because when the pulse rate is too high, it forces your lungs to function more, to work more. And because of this, this can, going into oxygen depth, which is another theory again, that again can lead to dizzy spells, lightheaded feeling and so on. So if you're the type of person that needs to monitor certain chronic conditions, I would definitely say it's a should have or a must have. Yes?
When we come back from the break, less talk and more action. We'll be in the gym here at Express Fitness Jamaica. We'll be right back.
Our slogan says we are the people's station, and for more than 10 years, PBCJ has been providing unique content to this growing market. Let us show you how we can serve you. We are small compared to our competitors, but it's our size that gives us the ability to dedicate ourselves to our clients. We move your project from concept to completion, keeping our activities in-house so we can make decisions in a timely and efficient manner. We have a creative, energetic, and youthful team ready to take your ideas to the next level. So what can we do for you? PBCJ has mastered the art of feature presentations, studio interviews, and PSAs. We also stand ready to create content for your social media platforms and make your message accessible anywhere, anytime. We also provide streaming for your conferences, seminars, and workshops. And guess what? You don't have to break the bank, because our fees are some of the most competitive in the market. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we air it free. You heard right. We air it free for you. So call the PBCJ at 876-754-7225 or email us at production@pbcjamaica.org. We are waiting to serve you.
What we're going to do right now, I'm going to run you through the actual process. Based on what we spoke about before, I would categorize you as an average person, So basically the average healthy person, we're going to describe what is a low impact activity, intermediate and high impact for the average healthy person. Because if you have a chronic condition like a medical condition, the low impact, intermediate and high can be slightly different. So for the average person, that's what we're going to do for today. So for you, Say for example, we didn't have anything before, any form of physical activity before, come this way. I personally would not put you on a treadmill for your first days. If you're a beginner, if I put you on the treadmill, you might not be comfortable with the machine and so on. It'd probably be better for you to do stuff that you were doing from high school. From high school, if you did any sports, you would have been used to these stretches and so on. So stretching on the spot, it's called a static stretch. We just finished warm-up, right? Give you a few more seconds to catch your breath. So because you're the average person, you have no injuries nor medical conditions. That's why we could do a demonstration for each without risk of your health or physiological damage, right? So right there and then, we went through all three. For some people, they wouldn't have gone through to the high impact. For some people, what we did as a high impact warm-up, it's actually a high impact exercise, those burpees, right? So it depends on your physiological state, what level you are, that determines why or when the exercise is actually low impact, intermediate or high impact, right? So never think that it's the specific exercise that is considered to be low impact, intermediate or high. It depends on the person and then how they are going to do the exercise, so to speak, whether it's with your body weight or with resistance like machines or other equipment, right? So for today, what we're going to use here, this is a multi-station cable machine. With this machine alone, we can work every muscle group. However, we're going to stick to just upper body for now, right? The muscle group we're targeting, triceps. So we're going to do a tricep push down, right? So you want to hold the weight here, select the handle that you want, hold the weight here, because you can take off the handles, right? So we're selecting this one. We want to have our legs shoulder width apart, right? We want to be square with the machine. We don't want to be slant like this and holding here. We want to be square with the machine, legs shoulder width apart. We want to tighten the abs, and then I will tell you to pull your elbows here. This is the starting position, right? So we slightly bend the knees and we push the hands to the ground, all the way down till you feel the contraction here, right? So it's up, nice and controlled, up, nice and controlled, all the way down.
Your trivia question for this episode was, which of the following is not a category related to the intensity of exercise? Is it A, low impact, B, intermediate, C, high impact, or D, CrossFit? If you said D, CrossFit, you were correct. CrossFit is focused on constantly varied, high-intensity functional movement, drawing on categories and exercises such as Olympic-style weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman-type events, body weight exercises, indoor rowing, aerobic exercises, running, and swimming. Regular exercise can have a profoundly positive impact on depression, ADHD, anxiety, and more. It also relieves stress, helps you sleep better, improves your memory, and boosts your overall mood. With that, I hope you find this episode interesting. I'm your host, Annika Simpson, and this is Blueprint to Your Health, tips and tools for a healthier you. Thanks for watching.